The first scream didn't come from fear, it came from disbelief. At 36,000 feet, with the cabin lights dimmed and coffee carts rattling gently, no one expected a man in seat 14C to stand up holding a gun, his hands shaking almost as much as the passengers who stared back at him. The calm voice over the intercom had just finished saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, we've reached cruising altitude," when everything shattered. Two men rushed the aisle, shouting in broken English, their anger louder than the engines. Somewhere between the smell of jet fuel and panic, the flight stopped being a flight and became a hostage situation. Sarah Miller was pushing a beverage cart when it happened. She froze for half a second, just long enough to take in the details. The weight of the gun. The way the hijacker's finger trembled near the trigger. The fact that the second man was trying very hard not to look scared. She felt the old instinct stir, the one she thought she'd buried years ago beneath pressed uniforms and polite smiles. Her name tag read Sarah, flight attendant, and that was exactly what everyone around her believed she was. Passengers were ordered to put their heads down. A baby started crying somewhere in the back, the sound sharp and unbearable. An elderly man whispered a prayer. Sarah slowly raised her hands, her movements careful, her face calm. Inside, her heart beat with a familiar rhythm, not panic, but focus. She had felt this before, years earlier, over desert skies lit by tracer fire. The hijackers forced their way into the cockpit. The door slammed shut, echoing like a verdict. The plane lurched slightly as its course changed. Sarah knelt beside a young woman who was shaking so badly her teeth rattled. "Breathe with me," Sarah whispered, her voice steady. The woman clutched her sleeve like it was a lifeline. As minutes stretched into a suffocating silence, Sarah's eyes scanned the cabin. She counted threats, exits, allies. A man near the wing, strong build, alert eyes, former military maybe. A teenage boy holding his little sister, trying to be brave. A mother pressing her forehead against the seat in front of her, tears soaking the fabric. This wasn't just a cabin of strangers. This was a responsibility. A hijacker reappeared, dragging the captain behind him, blood trickling from a cut on his forehead. "Pilot is injured," the hijacker shouted. "We need someone who knows planes." The silence that followed was heavier than fear. No one moved. Sarah stood, every eye turned to her. The hijacker laughed, harsh and mocking. "Sit down," he snapped. "I can help," Sarah said. The captain looked at her, confused and desperate. "You're a flight attendant." "Yes," she replied softly. "And I'm also a decorated combat pilot. U.S. Air Force, 12 years, flew F-15s and transport aircraft. I know this plane." The hijacker hesitated. Fear flickered across his face, fear of losing control, fear of making the wrong choice. Outside the cockpit, the sky stretched endlessly, uncaring. Finally, he grabbed her arm and shoved her forward. Inside the cockpit, alarms blinked like angry eyes. The co-pilot was unconscious. The instruments were familiar in a way that felt like coming home. Sarah slid into the seat, her hands moving with muscle memory she never truly lost. She assessed the damage, adjusted the controls, spoke calmly to the injured captain. "What do you need?" he asked. "Time," she said, "and trust." The hijackers argued behind her, voices rising. One wanted to turn toward a major city. The other panicked, yelling about fuel and radar. Sarah used their chaos. She spoke slowly, confidently, explaining that their plan would fail, that they would run out of fuel, that air defenses would take them down. "But," she added, "if we land safely, everyone lives." Her voice wasn't threatening, it was human. One hijacker cracked first. He was young, barely more than a boy, tears streaking his face. His gun lowered slightly. "We didn't want this," he whispered. Sarah turned to him, meeting his eyes. "Then don't let it end this way." Minutes later, the plane began its descent toward a remote airstrip. Passengers felt the change and dared to hope. Sarah guided the aircraft down, every second a battle between steel, gravity, and fragile human choices. When the wheels finally touched the ground, the cabin erupted, not in cheers, but in sobs of relief. Authorities surrounded the plane. The hijackers surrendered. No shots were fired. As passengers disembarked, many stopped to hug Sarah, to thank her through tears. The woman she had comforted earlier held her hands and said, "You saved my life." Sarah shook her head gently. "We saved each other." Later, as cameras flashed and officials spoke of heroism, Sarah stood off to the side, exhausted. She hadn't planned to reveal her past. She had chosen a quiet life after war took too much from her: friends, sleep, pieces of herself. But when it mattered, she remembered who she was. That night, news headlines called her a hero. Sarah didn't feel like one. She felt human, and that was the message she hoped people would remember. Not that courage belongs only to uniforms or titles, but that sometimes, the person serving you coffee might also be the one who knows how to bring everyone safely home.